Capitalism is Misery, We're Better Off Better Read Than Dead book by LavenderLuxury.
Capitalist pig censorship cover-up Big Pharma, getting away with murder, evil robots, and wage thief. Now on to more examples of capitalism's misery can be found in events such as the horrific fire in the movie The Triangle Factory fire scandal, a Triangle t-shirt manufacturing company building in New York City in 1911 that ended up resulted in the death of 146 employees, mostly young women who didn't make a lot of money, who worked in very poor conditions due to capitalism. That's the outrage we need against the capitalist pigs who put profits over human lives and get away with it every single day. Sweatshop factories such as the Rana Plaza disaster. What happened was due to neglect by greed. A sweatshop factor totally collapsed on workers, killing 1,100 people and workers inside the building. Survivors have to live in constant pain and suffering every day because of this accident due to capitalism's greedy demand of cheap labor with low pay. One of the victims of the accident was a woman who now has to live with cracked hip bones and spinal column damage for the rest of her life. Then there was the Samsung department store collapse that happened in 1995, where the CEOs and everyone in the top knew about the horrible structural damage of this mall, but just tried to cover it up instead of actually getting the structure fixed because they wanted to save money. This accident ended up killing 502 people and injuring 937. All that could have been prevented if they would have just fixed the structural damage and not put too much weight on the building than what it was capable of. Anyone else remember the Bhopal gas disaster that happened in India in 1984, the world's deadliest industrial disaster that killed 16,000 people? Even people after the whole accident years later died from the exposure to the toxic gas fumes. The CEO of the company that was responsible for this tragic preventable disaster, Warren Anderson as he was called, didn't take responsibility and fled the country when he was gonna be charged with manslaughter. The disgusting disregard of human lives underneath capitalism. Silkwood is another movie example of how people who do activism and fight for justice against capitalism get censored and perennially allegedly murdered for speaking out against the evil that is capitalism by the greedy capitalist pig. Karen Silkwood, the victim, had complained to the Atomic Energy Commission about how she felt how the place she worked had very unsafe working conditions at the plant. She was on her way to a news meeting with a reporter from the New York Times. After the accident, all of a sudden no folder was found in the car. People allegedly and suspect that the capitalist pig's helpers ran her off the road and removed the documentaries of neglect by the CEO of the plant. Another example of this is when Coca-Cola was accused of hiring hitmen from 1990 and 2002 to kill at least 10 labor union workers on strike. Remember that time when Nestlé tried to cover up environmental damage allegedly caused by their company and tried to just pay for the damage to cover it up, but the people who lived there told them, no? Fred Hampton is one of the biggest examples of the victims of racist, bloodthirsty capitalism. Fred Hampton was murdered by the police, the capitalist pigs, and the United States government on December 4, 1969. He was only 21 years old at the time, and he spent his life fighting against the injustices of racist capitalism. He was a truth seeker and a beautiful revolutionary, and he was murdered for his activism by Porky themselves and Pokey's helpers like the police. People want to talk about how awesome capitalism is and how it's so cool and amazing, but when shown the bloodthirsty nature of this system they play dumb. In a world full of greedy people, victims stand no chance, and those who take up a stand against them are senkoroti silenced forever. Just some examples of the victims of capitalism. I am a truth seeker at heart. I will not be silenced. I live for the truth, and the truth of how disgusting capitalism is needs to be brought to people's attention. That's what scares Porky the most, is people waking up to their blue shit and taking away their exploitive, comfortable lifestyle as they ride on the backs of the working class like the parasites that they are. The fact that Big Pharma plays with the lives of the poor and the poor suffer and die because they can't afford evil Big Pharma's sky-high skyscraper prices is repulsive. There is an example of this in the case of a man who lost his insurance and had to switch to a cheaper insulin because the capitalist pigs would rather put profits over human lives so they can buy their expensive boat yachts. Capitalism is also causes the biggest theft in the world. It is wage theft, where employers get around the laws and steal from their hard-working employees and exploit them no end. The penalties of this are low, and the capitalist pigs are rarely punished with just a few $1,000 fine for it, while the working class suffers for it. Here are some statistics of wage theft under capitalism. Just one form of wage theft is equivalent to the value of all merchandise lost to shoplifting nationwide. By paying less than the legal minimum wage, employers steal an estimated $15 billion every year. This compares to an estimated $14.7 billion lost annually to shoplifting. If a shoplifter steals more than $2,500 in merchandise, they can face felony charges in any state in the country. The greatest civil federal penalty for wage theft is repaying the amount in stolen wages and an equal amount in liquidated damages. Even for repeat or willful violations, the maximum penalty is $1,100. This is why I fight, because if we don't stand up now against the capitalist greedy pigs, then nobody will. I refuse to sit down and take this shit. There are homeless people who are living on the street while capitalist pigs live and pig out in the greedy gluttony. The working class deserves to enjoy the fruits of their labor. The capitalist pigs have no right to steal from them and exploit them like Nestle chocolate making wage slaves. There are more vacant homes than homeless people, but yet there are homeless people. If capitalism is really the best we have, why are there homeless people dying on the street during the Texas power outages while a climate change enhanced blizzard rains down on them? The homeless are punished, even intimidated and threatened with robots or spikes. Not only that, but hotels during the Texas power outages spiked up their prices, which is absolutely disgusting. An animal shelter in San Francisco has been caught red-handed using a robot security guard to threaten homeless people. Instead of helping the homeless, they are threatened by a so-called animal shelter that cares about animals. That is just really a wolf in sheep's clothing. Capitalism doesn't care about animals' lives or the lives of people. The homeless deserve better than capitalism. Don't even get me started on the deaths and suffering that sanctions and blockades that the United States have caused. U.S. sanctions killed over 40,000 Venezuelans. This is not even the half of it. People wonder why people hate America and can't stand capitalism, and spit and set fire to the American flag. Because who would love an imperialist genocidal country that loves to kill all in the name of greed? Nobody. Those are the reasons people are fed up with your American imperialist bullshit.